Hello, my name is Eva, and I'm an undergraduate student taking a class psyc110 called The Brain and Behavior. Today, I will be explaining the visual pathway and how the things we see in the world around us gets processed by our brain. The first step of sensory processing in the visual pathway begins in the retina. The retina is wrapped around the inside of your eye, and it's actually technically a part of your brain as well. It's kind of like an outpocketing. There are two parts of the retina, the temporal and the nasal retina. The word temporal refers to the area around your temples or the side of your head, and the word nasal refers to the space near your nose. The temporal retina on one eye works with the nasal retina on your other eye to make up one visual field and vice versa. For example, the left nasal and right temporal retina sense information in your entire right visual field. This is why when you close your eye, your vision only changes slightly because the retina in one eye has partial ability to see both visual fields. The retina has 5 layers of nerve cells. First, it has rods and cones, which are receptors that absorb light. Next, bipolar cells make synapses or connections with the rods and cones. Bipolar cells are connected to ganglion cells. There are also horizontal cells and amacrine cells in between to support these connections. Lastly, the ganglion cells join at a bundle that leaves the eye into the optic nerve. In each eye, there is one optic nerve. As I explained earlier, one eye can receive partial information from both sides of the visual field. The visual information from both sides are kept together until the optic chiasm. The optic chiasm is where the optic nerve from each eye meets. It is also where the left and right visual information are separated. Interestingly, they inversely separate when the information goes to the brain. This means that the right visual information is sent to the brain's left hemisphere and vice versa. The optic chiasm ends at the lateral genticulate nucleus, or LGN. The LGN has 6 layers total and 2 types of layers. The types of layers can be separated by a small or large neuron type. The large neuron type, layer 1 and 2, are responsible for movement and are achromatic, meaning without color. The small neuron type, layers 3 to 6, are responsible for detail and color. The next step of the visual pathway is in the primary visual cortex, or V1. This is the first step of visual processing. The steps before this can be thought of as transporting information, but visual processing in the V1 is the interpretation of this information. There are many types of cells in the V1 that respond to different stimuli. 2 of these kinds of cells are called simple cells and complex cells. Simple cells respond mostly to dark and light, and complex cells respond mostly to orientation and directionality, such as the angle of a straight line or edge. These cells are organized into cortical modules. Cortical modules are ways that the neurons are arranged in the brain. Neurons that are similar to each other are grouped together. Neurons that are slightly different are grouped separately but nearby the previous one. For example, the complex cells that respond to a straight line are grouped in one area called an orientation column. The orientation column next to that one has complex cells that respond to lines that are 10% different. The cortical modules also have blobs, which contain cells that process color rather than orientation. Finally, your brain needs to know information about how the things you see can affect you or the world. This is determined through the dorsal and ventral stream, which diverge in the V2. The ventral stream tells us what an object is, like, for example, how we can easily recognize a face from inanimate objects. The dorsal stream tells us where an object is in space and how it may interact with other objects. Thank you for listening to my video. I hope this was helpful.